Imagine waking up one day to find you've aged 100 years overnight. And even worse, it's completely someone else's fault. In today's story, the Norse gods found themselves in such a situation because of the one and only Loki. A tale of how one bad promise almost killed all the gods. This is the story of the golden apples. On a fine summer day, Odin, Honir, and Loki leave Asgard and cross the Rainbow Bridge to go exploring in Midgard, the land of men. They walk across Midgard for the whole day and finally come to a river where they decide to make camp for the night. They quickly realize they forgot to bring any food, but the ever-resourceful Loki uses his tricks to catch two boars, while Odin and Honir make a fire. Exhausted and famished, they cut up the boars and put them on the fire. After waiting a while, Honir pulls out a piece of meat to eat, but it is surprisingly still uncooked. The gods are confused, but they think that perhaps things just take longer in Midgard, and they put the meat back on the fire. They wait, and wait, and wait. But even after hours, the meat refuses to cook. Just as Odin begins to suspect that there is some other power at work, they hear a loud screech coming from above. They look up and see a massive eagle looking down on them from a nearby tree. Shocked, they ask it what it wants.
Just some food, it says. If you share your meat with me, I'll let it cook.
With not much of a choice, the gods agree. The eagle flies down and settles beside them, and the meat begins to sizzle. It smells so good that the gods' mouths begin to water. But before they can make a move, the eagle pounces and eats all the meat with a few large bites. Loki rises in a rage and stabs the eagle with his spear. The bird takes off into the air, carrying the spear and Loki along with it. Loki tries to let go, but his fingers won't open. The bird twists and turns, flying Loki into trees and slamming him on the rocks. Loki pleads to be released, but the bird just goes faster. Finally, the bird says,
First, you must make me a promise.
Anything!
Convince Idun to leave Asgard with her apples and bring her to me in 7 days.
Now who was this Idun? Idun was the goddess of youth and gentlest of the gods. But what made her so important were her golden apples. You see, even though they were long-lived and incredibly powerful, the Norse gods weren't immortal. But Idun's apples were able to grant the gift of eternal youth, allowing them to stay young forever. Loki realizes too late that this bird is actually a giant, the sworn enemies of the gods, and that this was a trap from the very beginning. He hesitates, but one more bone-rattling slam decides for him. "Alright, I'll do it!" he cries desperately. The bird drops him like a rock and flies off laughing. Loki lies there for a while, riddled with pain. He finally gets up and slowly makes his way back to Odin and Honir, where he tells them about his ordeal. But he says nothing about his bargain, and they all head back to Asgard. 7 days pass, and Loki finds Idun in the fields gathering flowers. He saunters up to her and says casually,
Idun, these apples of yours are wonderful, but I have seen even better on a tree in Midgard. Really? If you don't believe me, why not come see for yourself?
Now, no other god would fall for this. After all, Loki is, well, Loki, the god of mischief, a known liar and trickster with no real loyalties. But Idun has a trusting spirit, and she agrees to come along. Loki tells her to bring her own apples so they can compare them with the ones on Midgard. They go to Midgard, and as they approach the place where Loki's magic tree should be, the eagle rises from its hiding place, revealing itself to be the giant Thiazi. He catches Idun in his claws and carries her screaming off to Jotunheim, the land of the giants. He flies to his home high in the mountains, where he plans to keep her so he can stay young forever. Back in Asgard, at first, the gods don't notice Idun's absence, but slowly the signs start to appear. They get weaker, their skin begins to sag, their hair falls out, and worst of all, they begin to lose their minds. They forget things, argue with each other, and soon everyone is afraid that it won't be long before they're all dead. Odin, the All-Father and strongest of the gods, gathers his dwindling strength and calls a meeting. When they all eventually gather, they realize that one god is missing, Loki. This surprises no one because if there's trouble, it's almost always Loki. They all go looking for him, and after a long, slow search, they find him sleeping in the fields. Grabbing him, they take him back to Odin and demand he tells them the truth. Cornered, Loki confesses everything. He tries to make excuses, but Odin isn't.
Return Idun before sunset, or die by my hand. Your choice.
Trembling, Loki agrees. He asks for Freya's falcon skin, her cloak that allows her to change into a falcon. Freya gives him the cloak, and donning it, he flies to Thiazi's castle. Luckily for him, when he arrives, Thiazi is out on a hunt. Loki searches the whole castle until he finally finds Idun weeping in a dark room. Full of remorse, Loki whispers some magic words and turns her into a nut. He picks her up, puts on his falcon skin, and jumps out the window, flying away as fast as he can. Thiazi returns from his hunt and soon discovers that Idun is gone. He immediately guessing what has happened. He puts on his eagle skin and quickly gives chase. Now the falcon is fast, but the eagle is the king of the skies, and Thiazi gradually closes the distance between them. Odin, who has been watching Loki with his magic eye, sees that it will be a close finish and quickly orders the other gods to build a large pile of wood by the walls of Asgard, but not light it yet. Meanwhile, an exhausted Loki feels the wind from Thiazi's wings just at his back. But he can finally see Asgard, and with one last burst of speed, he soars over the walls. As soon as he is past the gods, lights the fire. Thiazi sees this, but he is moving too fast to stop, and with a loud screech flies right into the fire. His wings burn off and he falls to the ground, writhing in pain. Before he can remove his eagle skin, the gods rush forward, swords drawn, and put a quick end to the giant. Safe at last, Loki throws off his falcon skin and is greeted by the anxious, aged faces of the gods. He brings out the nut with a flourish, speaks the magic words, and Idun stands before the gods. The gods are giddy with joy, and Idun is shocked by their appearance. She looks around her in dismay and immediately begins handing out apples. Soon all the gods and goddesses are back to their youthful selves, and they all celebrate. Everyone is so happy that no one notices Loki quietly slipping away. He knew they would soon come after him for what he did. He knew they would punish him. And he knew that when the time came, he would probably hurt them again. But that was just the way it was. He was Loki, after all. And so, once again, Loki proved that he could create a huge mess and somehow still find a way to escape trouble. The takeaway of this tale is of the fragility of trust and the impermanence of youth. The gods thought they could live forever, and they became complacent, and they almost paid with their lives. So it is important to live while you can, make time for loved ones and doing the things you enjoy. Or before you know it, your youth will be gone, and there will be no apples to bring it back. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment below, especially if you have a folktale you'd like brought to life. Until next time, friends, stay curious, stay kind, and keep the stories alive.